input a value. So prompt allows user to input value, but problem is it is only a simple string input, only a string input. Whatever you type, it is a string type. It will not allow any another. Even you type a number, it will treat as string. So prompt is used for that. Let's see why we need this. For example, here I am creating a simple input HTML. I'm creating a HTML page here, and in this just write as prompt. Okay. Here we are asking a user to suppose put a button, and we'll say create folder. That is the option. So this button, when user clicks, it should create a folder. But actually, to create any folder, it should ask by which name you want folder. Means we need to provide folder name. Where to provide the folder name? That means from where we can take value. So that means user will input value and we have to take that value. So if user have to input a value, then we can do one thing. On click, create click, on create click, let's write a script. The function create click. On create click, I will put a prompt. Actually, prompt contains syntactically, prompt will be defined in this way. Prompt, you can put your message and you can put default value. Any default value you can keep it. So you can put your message and default value. Default value is optional. That means even you don't define, it is okay. That means you can put prompt and your message. You can keep like this. For example, now I am giving here prompt. So enter folder name. That is what I defined. Now see what happens when user clicks on create folder. Then it will pop up and display same like alert, but it allows to input a value. So it simply gives a text box. From there we can input any value. We are typing any value into it. Suppose some music. Here 3 consequences will be there. For prompt, the consequences are, so you can click OK without value. Then it returns empty string, which is verified with empty double quotes. So you click OK with value, then it returns value. It returns the value. Now when you click here, one more option is there, cancel. When you click cancel, then what it will do is it returns null. So with value, without value, you click cancel, always it returns null. So conform box returns false. On OK, it will return true. On cancel, it will return false. But prompt on cancel, it will return null. So we have to write logic accordingly. That means what we are expecting from prompt. Three things. One, the value entered in prompt or empty string or null. For three conditions you have to write the logic. Otherwise anywhere it will show problem. You have to write the condition for three things. So that means here the result of this we will store in somewhere, some memory. I will just give as folder name is equal to whatever comes from this prompt we will store there. Now actually this prompt will return empty, it will return null, and it will return value, which if it returns some value, some folder name, then I want to display in a paragraph. I will put a paragraph. In the paragraph, I want to display. So we will simply write a condition. If first condition, if user clicks cancel, then folder name will be null. It will be null. If folder name is null, that means they haven't entered anything, they clicked cancel. Then what we will do, we will just put an alert saying that you cancelled. This message should display. We will write another else. We write condition else if folder name is empty, means empty string. That means they are not entering any value and they are clicking OK. So that's what I said. If they click OK without value, it returns empty string. So if they do this, I will put another alert saying that please enter folder name. That message I am giving. Else, that means it is not null and it is not empty. That means there is some value. If there is some value, then I want to display in paragraph. How to access paragraph? Document dot query selector. What is it? Paragraph dot inner HTML. We know the output methods. Yesterday we learned. In this, we will put a message folder created plus the dynamic value, whatever value present in folder name. That means this is ordinary string. To that string, we are adding the folder name. We are defining the folder name. These are all the conditions we mentioned here. Now, actually, now refresh. You click on folder and you click on cancel without name or with name, cancel. Then it says you cancel. I click on folder name, I click OK without entering name. Then it will say that please enter folder name. If I enter some folder name, some music, then it will display folder created music. Right? I click on this again, cancel. That means you cancelled. I click OK, please enter folder name. So I click on here, suppose movies, then you can see it will add. But it is replacing the old message and new, because every time whatever new message you send, that will replace this existing message. If you want to keep the existing message and put the new message, then you can put plus. Plus equal. Plus equal means keep the existing message and add the new message. And every message at the end, we will put a BR. So that next message will be in a new line. right? Now you see here folder name, music, okay, and create folder, movies, okay. We can add multiple, some tutorial it can add multiple. So we can take input from the user and we can handle the input. What is problem in this is only plain string. You cannot ask passwords because even they enter password it will be clean. You cannot use anything, check boxes, radios, drop downs, nothing will come here, only one text box. If I want first name, last name, details, so many, no chance, only one text box. Then you can create your own dialogues like this. You learned already Bootstrap. When you learned Bootstrap, you learned models. You can design your own models like this. Many people ask like, can I change color? Can I add a button for this? You can't do anything for this. This is browser window. You can't do anything to this, right? You cannot change. You cannot add a button. You cannot cancel. This is related to browser. It is always same, right? Then if I want my own buttons, my own appearance, then you create your own. How to create own we will see. We can create by using our Bootstrap. So when this type of prompt is used, actually when input is not regular, that means every day I don't want input. Actual what you can do, you can give a text box like this and you can mention that new name, new name, and here you can put a button, and in this button you can give an option create folder, right? Like this you can give. You can design this so that they will enter the folder name, some movies, and they will click on create. But this input is not every day. We use this rarely. That means every day we don't create folder. Once we create folder, we add files into that folder, right? This input is not regular. Then why you are wasting space for that, right? That means keep it, remove it. When user clicks the button, then pop up and show. That is good because we don't want to waste the screen space for the option which is not regularly used. If it is not regularly used, don't waste screen for it. You just put a button or icon and user clicks, then it will pop up. It will ask name, enter, and handle it. So when input is not regular and input is a plain string, then which element is better? Prompt. As I already told you, prompt can have default value. So for example, you see in the prompt, so folder name, I will just give comma and I can just put as new folder. Like this I given. That means if I don't enter anything inside it, it will get that new folder. So what default text you want inside it, you can define that. So you can remove it and you can add your own content into it. So if you don't enter anything and click OK, it will take the default. It will take the default, right? So that is basic how we can manage. This is here very major point is how you collect the data. To collect the data entered in a prompt, temporarily I am using some name. Later we will discuss detail. Already in SAS, I told you, we store data in memory. We store data in memory in the form of a variable. So this is a variable, in that we are storing the value. Later you will learn detail about variables. In that we are storing the value and you are handling it here. So this is one simple input technique we have in JavaScript. This is input option. If we want complex, that means we can handle by using form input elements. We can use form input elements. That means you can use HTML form elements for input. So like it can be a text box, it can be a checkbox, it can be a radio, it can be a list box, drop down, etc. Anything you can use here. These are form elements. Already we learned detailedly about all form elements. By using form elements, we can create a form and we can take input from the user. To take input from user, ready-made, you have prompt, or you create by your own. Your own means you have to design that by using form. Let's see how to use this. How to design a form, no need to tell. Already you know it. Let's do this now. I'm adding a new file, form input. Okay, let's design here. Here I will use the form input, and here I will link relation is equal to style sheet href. I will use bootstrap, node modules, bootstrap dist css. So bootstrap dot css. Okay, and I will use link relation. Icons not required as of now. Yeah. Just what I will do is I will put script. Source is equal to node modules jQuery dist jQuery JS. I'm using complete bootstrap here. So you know what is required. Bootstrap dist JS bootstrap bundle. Okay, so class container fluid. Okay, and here we will keep a simple div, in that we have a button. So I said some register product. So I am just using register product, or say add new product. Okay, let's keep the class btn and btn primary. And here we will put the class margin top 3. So we have a simple design here. This is add new product. And we will keep a container below this. Yeah, div class margin top 3. And here I will put a heading, the product details. In this, I will create a data list, data term, and here I have name, data definition, another data term price, data definition. I have data term like stock, city, yeah, city, and data definition, another data term stock, data definition. These are product details actually. This is product details. We will keep those details side by side. So class row, and here terms will use call 3. So all these terms we will use call 3 terms. And the definitions we will use class call 9. So that you can display them side by side. So definition, okay. All the definitions like this. Now I don't want this to display. I don't want to display. Then for this container, I will put an ID as details container, and to hide it, style display as none. Display as none. I am hiding it so that it is not displayed. So when I click on add new product, when we click on add new product, a form should come. In that form, it should ask to enter all the details. After entering details, you click OK, then those details must display there. Where to display? Here in this details. That means this should display after they enter the details. After they enter the details, this details container must display. So first, when user here, I am not designing a form directly here because I don't want to waste the screen space. I will create a pop-up. Then here we will just design a container class as model. You know, ID as this is register model. Okay. And this model will use some fade. Okay. And it will have a class model dialog. You know how to design a model. We need a class model content. And we have a div class model header. Here I define register product, and I kept a button class as btn close, data bs dismiss model, right? Yeah. And we have a div. The class is model body. In the model body, we will design a form. So I will just create a data list, data term. This is product name. Data definition, input type is equal to text. Class is equal to form control. Another data term, price. Data definition, input type is equal to text. Class is form control. Another data term, city. Data definition, select. Class form control, form select. Here we have an option. This is Delhi. So option some Hyderabad like this. Another data term, stock. Data definition. Here I am using a class as form switch. So input type is equal to checkbox. And here class as form check input. And here I said available. Okay. Now that is basic form design inside the form body, model body. Next, we have another class that is model footer. In this we have a button, so register. So yeah, register. And we have another button, cancel. Register will have class btn and btn primary. And cancel will have the class btn and btn danger. And it will have data bs dismiss as model. Now this model should pop up when user clicks on add new product. Data bs target is equal to hash register. Data bs toggle is equal to model, right? Yeah. Now this is the model. I click on add new product, a pop-up will come. And here we need to add all the details. The product name, the product price, the product city, and the stock available or not. And I click on register, then those details, this should close. So on register, two things should happen. This should close. This data need to be collected and displayed inside details container. That details container, so the details container should display. So here for register button also, data BS dismiss model. But in addition to that, one extra work to be done. Then we will write for this register button on click. Register click. Register click is a function. We have to write the function here. So we will put a script and the function is register click. On register click, we need to access get element by ID details container. Details container is a div. Now that div we need to show again. To show any element, we have to use a style. In style, which attribute? Display. Display should be what? The value I put as block. Display block. Previously, we set already display as none here. We have to change that to display block after they click on register. Actually, for register, already there is a work given here. For register, already a work is going on. What work? It will close the model and it will perform this functionality also extra. That means now I click new product and I click on register. I click on register and you can see that details will come. Here we will display those details. We will display those details. And one more here, we can add so many things. Now the point is how to collect the details from these controls. So every control must have an ID. This is name. This is price. This is ID. This is city. And this is ID stock. That is checkbox. Where to display them? That means where to display these details. So we have to display here. That means in this cell, we want to display the name. Then I will give ID for this data definition. This is LBL name, means label, just for displaying. You can give anything. Huh? I will give ID here LBL price. I will give ID here LBL city. Here ID as LBL stock. So you have to collect the details from the form and you need to display in this data definition, right? That's very simple. Nothing special, only checkbox little different. How to collect cell data definition? Document, get element by ID, LBL name. LBL name is a data definition. In that, we want to display something. So inner HTML, what you want to display inside it? The value that is present in text box. So how to access the text box? Document get element by ID name. That is the text box. What you want to access from the text box? Dot value. Because whatever you enter in text box, it is considered as value. What properties text box is having? ID, name, class, value, size, min length, max length, required, pattern. These are all attributes. What is entered inside text box, that depends on which one? Value. Value indicates what is there in the text box, what you want to display in text box or what you want to collect from text box. So text box have value, that value should display here. Same others. Document get element by ID. We have to get price, LBL, price dot inner HTML. Document get element by ID, price also text box, so value. Document get element by ID, so LBL city dot inner HTML. Document get element by ID, so that is city. City is a drop down. Drop down also have value. You know that drop down contains option. Every option contains how many properties? Every option of drop down contains 4 properties. You remembered what are those 4 properties? Drop down have, option have 4 properties. What are those? Text, value, enabled, selected, disabled, selected, right? That's what many people now very much overexcited about JavaScript. Sir, when JavaScript will start? When I start JavaScript, they can't do anything. Nothing, they can't do anything, because if you are not perfect in your HTML, forget JavaScript. Forget handling JavaScript. Zero. You can't do anything. JavaScript is about manipulating HTML. Some people very excited when JavaScript will start. Now started, what you will do? I will see. Right, in few days you will understand. Because this is not as simple and easy you think. If you don't handle immediately practice, you can't go forward. And for this 100% perfect HTML knowledge is required. Why we spend so much in-depth time about HTML? Because people generally come and say that, sir, I know little bit HTML, I want to learn JavaScript. Many times, even experienced people also, they come, we have React, Angular batches now. So they are asking regularly, I know little bit HTML, I want to learn React. Serious? Are you serious? So jokes, those are all, right? That means the point is perfect HTML knowledge, then you can handle anything, right? Because if you don't know what properties HTML contains, how you will use to access it? JavaScript is about manipulating HTML. Then first you should know what HTML have, right? That means what drop down contains, what are its properties, what are its values. Everything you have to detailedly learn, right? Refer all the attributes of elements we learned. In HTML, whatever attributes, elements related we learned, refer them. Which element, which attribute, because in JavaScript we have to work with them, right? So up to this is fine. Okay, these 3 are easy, very easy, because they are just collecting the value from them and showing in label. But checkbox is not like that. Checkbox is not like that, because we don't want checkbox value. We don't want checkbox value. Checkbox selected or not, that depends on which property? Checkbox selected or not selected, that depends on which attribute? Checkbox have an attribute called checked, right? Checked attribute will verify whether it is checked or not. So checkbox don't have a standard value to show. If checked, it will show one value. If not checked, another value. So up to this working fine. You see add product, the product name I entered Samsung TV. Price I entered some price. City I selected city. This we haven't written any logic as of now. So I click on register, then it should collect the detail and display. That is working fine. I will do one thing. So below this, what I will do is in this details container, you see this is details container. This is the details container actually. In this details container, I will put a button and class as btn link. It looks like a link and I will say edit. And for this, I will use data bs target hash register. It will open the model again. And the data bs toggle is model. That means what I am doing here, enter the details, Samsung TV, some price, some city, and click register, the details will come. There is a edit button. When I click on it, it will open the details again. Then I can do some changes and click on register. It will update the details. Now here we need to handle this drop down, this checkbox. So how to handle that? Let's see. So checkbox have an ID here. So we have a checkbox ID. You see the checkbox ID. So checkbox have an ID called stock. So first we have to access the checkbox. So I will put here stock checkbox. Just for your understanding sake, I'm giving a lengthy reasonable name. How to access the checkbox? Document dot get element by ID. What is it? Stock. So this is referring a checkbox. So now this is a checkbox. Now one more, I will put status. Status is currently empty. Okay. Currently status is empty. Okay. We write a condition. If stock checkbox dot checked, that means it is selected. Checked means it will say selected. If it is checked, then status must display so available, right? Otherwise, else status must display out of stock. Now where to display this status? I have to display in last label. What is that label? LBL stock. There I want to display. So document dot get element by ID LBL stock dot inner HTML. In that we have to display the status. Whatever status we collected, that we will display there. Now I will save this here. Now this is handling a checkbox. Later we will learn other controls. This is our first example, right? So later we will see sliders, drop downs, list boxes, check boxes, radio buttons, everything. So here now I will enter the details, new product, the product name, the product price, the product city, and available and register. Then the detail will come here. I am clicking on edit, change this and click register. Then it says out of stock. So I am changing the product name, some Nike, casuals, some price and some city, and those details available, then register. Those are updated here. So this is how we can take input from the user. So if you ask like, so sir, so much code you have written, is there any shortcut? This is the best possible shortcut. This is the best possible shortcut of this program, right? There are shortcuts, but you have to switch to jQuery, React, Angular like technologies. In JavaScript, this is the only way how you do it. You can little bit reduce your logics later when you learn about statements, variables and all, little bit. But design, you cannot do any shortcut. You know already, model, dialogues, bootstrap, design, no change. You can't do anything here. Logically, little bit you can adjust. Few lines you can reduce once you know some techniques. But this is very simple logic, straightforward, access values and display. Right? So a lot of complexity will be here. I will show you one by one how to handle that. This is one simple example. That means how we can collect the data and handle. This is example. By using form input elements and by using your bootstrap. So HTML, how you handle input. So we no need to use this model. What you can do, directly you can put a form, you can collect the data from the form and you can submit. But generally we don't want to waste the screen space. So we better put pop-ups. Because later we can put some banners, advertisement, something, anything on the page. We will put a pop-up and we will design. This is not prompt. Prompt is window related. So this colors buttons, your wish, you can change. Prompt is related to window that cannot change. That contains always okay, cancel. That contains only one text box. Here you can put anything you want, whatever you want, even pictures, everything can come here. We will see how to handle in various examples. So now you are good with two things. One is input and output. So in JavaScript, output methods, these are all the output methods. In JavaScript input techniques, you have two types. One is prompt, another one is form input element. Form input elements means lot of others are there. We will see in different example, like radios, sliders, meters, progress, how we can handle them and use them, right? So this is all the basic of JavaScript. Now, after knowing all this, now you are ready to learn JavaScript. All these days you haven't seen any JavaScript. Now you are ready to learn JavaScript. All these days you just understood how JavaScript works, right? So now we can start JavaScript. So that means this knowledge is required to start learning JavaScript. So you have just learned basic, like how to put JavaScript in a page, how JavaScript takes control over HTML, how JavaScript presents output, how JavaScript takes input. These are the things you learn. But real JavaScript is its language. When you know the language, now you can do more better with this, right? So we have to start understanding now the JavaScript language basics first. In the JavaScript language basics, in any programming language, so basics, in any programming language basics, we have some important things to learn, like variables, data types, operators, statements, and functions. Statements and functions. These are all the topics basics. After that, you will learn OOP concepts, some advanced things. In JavaScript programming, these are very basic things. So you have to use this everywhere where JavaScript is used. means like Node.js or like Angular, React, Vue, wherever JavaScript is used, there these language basics are same. Variables, data types, operators, statements, functions. You need to be very strong in this area, because in future, if you are learning any JavaScript based technologies, this is the language you regularly use, right? In this first important about variables. So variables in JavaScript. Already in SAS, I explained a simple overview. What is a variable? I explained in SAS concept. Now, what are variables? Variables are storage locations in memory where you can store a value and use it as a part of any expression. Without variable also we can do. For example, see, suppose I will create a simple HTML file. So variables.html. Here I'm just writing a script. I am writing a script here. I want to display message like hello the user, and whenever anybody opens page, I want to ask him what is your name, and he enters the name, and we will display hello that name. That means we need one input. What is the input? Prompt. In prompt, what we will do, I will say enter name. Enter name. Okay. Whatever the name they entered, I want to collect this and display that name. Then what I am doing is I am using document.write. Inside it, I am using prompt. That means here we are taking input from the user and we are displaying output. Now, what happens is here, I will refresh this now. You can see it is asking enter name. I entered some name. It is displaying that John. Right? That means it's working fine, no problem. So that means I will open, it will ask a name. I entered the name and say okay, that is displaying. Now I want to use this name somewhere else in the page. I want to use that name somewhere else in the page, but it is not there, gone. That means it is not there anywhere in the memory. At the time you typed it, taken it and presented it, and it is finished. That means this name is not stored anywhere in this memory. But you can ask the name, you can take the name, and you can display the name. But this is only one time use. If I want the name again, I have to ask him to enter again. It cannot be like that. Once he entered the name, take it, store it in memory, and use it whenever you want it. Every time you can't ask. Right? In that case, we have to store this in the memory. And for that, we need variables. Understood? Without variables also, we can manage. Without variable also, we are managing here. But you cannot reuse it. If you want to reuse it, store somewhere in memory. So for that, we need variables. Variables are required. That means what we do here, we will collect this. See, I am collecting this prompt, enter name. Whatever they entered, we are storing in a variable. Understood? In a variable, we are storing it. So variables are storage location in memory. So you can store any value and you can use anywhere you want. Suppose I am accessing document.write. So hello and plus the variable name. So variable, whatever variable is there, you enter. Suppose I'm using line break. I'm using again document.write. So hi, or say how are you. So how are you? And here I will put again variable. That means you can see that you entered that once. You entered that once. It can be used any number of times. You can enter any number of times. Actually, if I don't store this in a variable, I have to use this prompt here. I have to use that prompt again here. 2 times I have to use the prompt. That means every time when you want to take his name, you have to ask prompt. That means instead of doing this, what you can do, you can put here, what is it? Prompt. And you can say enter name. Here again, you have to use what? Prompt. What is it? Enter name. And you can see now this time, enter name David. Again, enter name, again David. Then it will take it. We can't do that. So every time we want the same value, you can't ask input every time. So we need to store in some place. And that is what actually variable. Variables are storage locations. So variables are storage locations in memory. You can store a value in it and you can use as a part of any expression. Actually, variable configuration comprises of 3 phases. Variable configuration contains 3 phases actually. We have declaration, we have assignment, and we have initialization. 3 phases will be there for variables. Declaration, assignment, and initialization. When you are learning about a variable, you should know that variable have 3 phases: declaring, assigning, and initialization. For example, actually in JavaScript, generally, JavaScript variables can be used directly without declaring if strict mode is off. You know, already I told you. So declaring variable is not required. So if strict mode is off, you can directly use a variable. So, but if strict mode is on, declaring variable is compulsory, right? I will tell you 3 phases here. So if strict mode is on, that means JavaScript variables can be declared by using 3 keywords: var, let, and const. I will tell you all the points, differences. First, let's see what are the 3 phases actually. So suppose here we are defining var x. I have defined x equal to 20, where y is equal to 30. Like this we have. So this is so x equal to var x. This is called declaration. This is called declaration. This is called assignment. We call this as assignment. And this is called initialization. We call this as initialization. This is called initialization. We have three phases. Generally, people who don't know proper language, here their W3 schools knowledge people will be there. So for such people, if you ask what is the second line, then many times people tell this as initialization. So many people who learn Java, .NET or some other languages, C, C++, they will call that initializing 20. It is not initializing, it is assigning. Initialization means at the time of declaring itself, if you send a value, that is called initialization. At the time of declaring, you see y is declared. While declaring itself, you send some value into it. Then that is called initialize. Initialization means at the time of declaring a variable, you have to send the value. At the time of declaring, you haven't sent any value. Later you are sending, then it is called assignment. So variable have three phases: declaration, assignment, and initialization. This is important to understand var, let, and const. To understand var, let, and const, first you should know what is declaring, what is assignment, and what is initialization. That is very important. So let's see actual. The point here is, so here first option, so declaring, that means declaring